Jorinda and Jorindel. There was once an old castle that stood in the middle of a dark, scary forest, and in el castle lived an old fairy. This fairy could change into any shape ella wanted. All day long ella flew around as an owl, or crawled around el country like a cat. But at night ella always turned back into an old woman. When any young man came close del castle, about as far as you can walk in a minute, él could not move at all until ella came and let lo go free. Ella would only do this if él promised never to come back. But when any pretty girl came that close, el fairy turned la into a bird and put la in a cage and hung la cage up in a room in el castle. There were 700 de these cages hanging in el castle, and all the ellas had beautiful birds inside. There was once a girl whose name was Jorinda. Ella was prettier than all las pretty girls anyone had ever seen before. And a boy who took care of sheep, whose name was Jorindel, loved la very much, and ellos were going to get married soon. One day, ellos went to walk in el forest so ellos could be alone together, and Jorindel said, "We must be careful not to go too close to the Hada castle." It was a beautiful evening. La last light del sun going down shone bright through las long tree trunks onto las green plants below, and las doves sang from las tall birch trees. Jorinda sat down to look at el sun. Jorindel sat next to ella. Both de ellos felt sad, but ellos did not know why. It felt like ellos were going to be separated from each other forever. Ellos had walked a long way, and when ellos looked to see which way ellos should go home, ellos could not figure out which path to take. El sun was going down fast, and already half the el had gone behind la hill. Jorindel suddenly looked behind el and saw through the bushes that ellos had, without knowing it, sat down right next to las old walls of the castle. Then el pulled back in fear, turned white, and shook. Jorinda was just singing. La dove sang from la tree branch, "Oh no, oh no." El cried for his love who was taken away. Oh no, oh no. When her song stopped all at once, Jorindel turned to see why and saw his Jorinda had been changed into a nightingale, so that her song ended with a sad bird cry. An owl with bright burning eyes flew around them 3 times, and 3 times it screamed, "Tu-woo, tu-woo, tu-woo." Jorindel could not move at all. El stood still like a rock, and El could not talk or move his hands or feet. Now el sun went all the way down. La dark night came. El owl flew into a bush, and right after that la old witch came out looking white and thin, with big staring eyes and a nose and chin that almost touched each other. Ella said something quiet to herself, grabbed the nightingale, and walked away holding it in her hand. Poor Jorindel saw that el nightingale was gone, but what could el do? El could not talk, and el could not move the place where el was standing. At last, la witch came back and sang in a rough, scratchy voice, "Until la prisoner is strapped and her fate is set, stay there, oh, stay there. When la magic is around her and the spell has tied her up, go away, go away." All at once, Jorindel found that el could move again. Then el got down to his knees in front of la witch and begged her to give him back his dear Jorinda. But ella laughed the el and said el would never see her again. Then ella walked away. Elle begged, Elle cried, Elle felt so sad, but nothing worked. "Oh no," Elle said, "what will happen to me?" Elle could not go back to his own home, so Elle went to a village Elle had never seen before and got a job taking care of sheep. Many times Elle walked around and around as close the terrible castle as Elle dared to go, but nothing worked. Elle could not hear or see anything de Jorinda. At last, Elle had a dream one night that Elle found a beautiful purple flower, and in the middle de ella was a precious pearl. Elle dreamed that Elle picked la flower and went with ella in his hand into la castle, and everything Elle touched with ella was freed de la magic spell, and there Elle found his Jorinda again. In la morning, when Elle woke up, Elle began to look over hills and valleys for this pretty flower. For 8 long days, Elle looked for la, but could not find la. But on the 9th day, early in the morning, Elle found la beautiful purple flower. In the middle de ella was a large drop of water, as big as a precious pearl.
Then Elle picked la flor and started traveling day and night until Elle came back to el castle. Elle walked closer de 100 steps de Elle, and this time Elle did not get stuck like before. Elle found that Elle could walk right up to la door. Jorindel was very happy to see this. Then Elle touched la door with la flor and ella opened right up. So Elle went in through el yard and listened when Elle heard so many birds singing. At last Elle came to la room where el fairy sat, with 700 birds singing in 700 cages. When ella saw Jorindel, ella was very angry and screamed with rage. But ella could not come closer the 2 big steps de Elle, because la flor Elle held in his hand kept lo safe. Elle looked around at los birds, but oh no, there were many nightingales, so how could Elle figure out which one was his Jorinda? While Elle was thinking about what to do, Elle saw la fairy had taken down one de las cages and was hurrying away through the door as fast as ella could. Elle ran or flew after ella, touched la cage with la flor, and Jorinda stood in front of Elle and threw her arms around his neck, looking as beautiful as ever, as beautiful as when ellos walked together in los woods. Then Elle touched all los other birds with la flor, so ellos all turned back into their old shapes again. Elle took Jorinda home, where ellos got married and lived happily together for many years. So did many other young men, whose girlfriends had been forced to sing as birds in las old fairies' cages by themselves, much longer than ellas wanted to.